People, has it ever happened to you that you prepared a lot for the interview, but just when you entered the interview cabin and the interviewer asked you a very simple question, you went completely blank? Has it ever happened to you that after years of rigorous preparation for a competitive exam, just when you entered the exam hall and looked at the question paper, you couldn't even answer a very simple question? If this has happened with you, then this episode is for you. In this episode today, I'm going to teach you a very simple trick by which you can actually train your mind to not enter that dumb state जहाँ पे इसको कुछ भी याद नहीं आता है. And if you only learn this trick properly and you apply this trick properly for your competitive exams, trust me people, while all of your friends are extremely anxious about the situation, you will be able to face the most crucial moments of your life with courage and with strategy. Why? Because you have the superpower of the knowledge that I'm about to give you in this episode. With that, let's get started. So the first question is, people, why do we exactly go blank during these situations? And the answer lies in the history of evolution of mankind. As it turns out, people, if you look at the history of mankind, we actually went from being an insignificant ape to becoming the rulers of the world. And when this massive transition happened, our brain underwent a massive evolution process, as a result of which today we actually have two operating brains. तो जब भी हम cavemen थे तभी हमारे पास जो दिमाग था that was actually meant only for survival. We were supposed to move fast, we were supposed to escape the weather, we were supposed to escape the predators, and we always had to stay cautious about what exactly is happening in our surrounding so that we can protect ourselves, our tribe and our family. So the brain of the caveman was actually the brain which was meant to survive. And this brain is a dumb brain. He does not understand mathematics, he does not understand arithmetic, he does not even understand complex languages. And as it turns out, because we evolved so fast, even today, that brain is still active within our mind. And the second brain is the reason why we became the rulers of the world, and this brain is called the neocortex. This part of the brain is called the neocortex. And neocortex is the reason why you're able to think critically. Neocortex is the reason why you're able to do logical reasoning and every other superpower that we human beings possess over the rest of the creatures. And because we have two operating brains, as it turns out, depending on the situation, our body actually decides which one of these two brains to actually deploy. So to put that straight, people, you actually have two brains within your head. The first brain is like a monkey, जिसको कुछ नहीं आता है, उसको सिर्फ escape करना आता है, उसको सिर्फ भागना आता है. And the second brain is like a scientist. This guy is a well-educated person who can remember and think logically. But you know what is a fun fact? In दोनों brains में से, depending on the situation, you can only choose one brain to operate with. So you either operate with the monkey's brain or you operate with the scientist's brain. And you know what is the deciding factor for this? The deciding factor for this is stress. Your body decides the moment stress pops up, you have to operate like a monkey because you have to escape that situation. And when there is no stress, your brain operates from the mode of a scientist. That is when you learn a lot. And the reason why you go blank during these anxious moments is because when you learn everything, you are actually operating with the scientist's brain. But when you attend the interview, because of the stress, your body actually operates with the monkey's mind, जिसको कुछ भी याद नहीं रहता है. So you train a scientist and you become a monkey when you go and write a paper. This is the fundamental reason why you go blank during the anxious situations like the interview and like the competitive exam. तो सवाल ये है, is there a way by which you can train your mind to not operate like a monkey and operate like a scientist? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. The answer lies in actually finding out what exactly is the deciding factor based on which the body decides whether to use the monkey or to use the scientist. And as it turns out, people, this deciding factor is a hormone called cortisol. Now, if you read about cortisol, it is a stress hormone. And the moment your brain senses that the situation that you're about to enter is a situation of emergency, as in a stressful situation, the brain immediately switches off the scientist brain and asks the monkey brain for help to escape the situation. So if you can somehow trick your brain into understanding that the situation that you are in is not a state of emergency, then your brain will not deploy the monkey and it will operate with the mind of a scientist, hence keeping you very calm, hence retaining all the knowledge that you have learned using the scientist brain. The question is, how do you exactly do it? Now the answer to that lies in the lifestyle of a firefighter. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have actually spoken to a firefighter, but if you do so, you will know that when the first time the fire happened, the young firefighter was actually shit scared of the fire. But the second time when the fire happened, this guy was a little less scared. And by the fourth time, they became completely numb to it. But when the sixth time, when an even massive fire breaks out, even if that fire was the most dangerous fire he has ever seen, even then the firefighter does not get scared. And the reason why he does not get scared is because he has constantly put his brain in a state of emergency. Eventually, the brain understood that state of emergency is not really a state of emergency, ये तो रोज ही होता है. And the moment you can trick your brain to understand, ये तो रोज ही होता है, it will stop secreting cortisol, or at least it will decrease the secretion of cortisol. Eventually, it will not deploy the monkey, it will deploy the scientist, eventually helping you remember everything during the most crucial moments of your life. Now, people, in the context of the competitive exams, here are the states of emergencies that you have to train your brain with. Alright, listen to this very, very carefully because this is very, very important. The first state of emergency is the state of emergency caused due to time consciousness. Now, people, all of us understand that अगर 3 घंटे का paper है, so, we tend to write very, very fast in the last half an hour of the paper. And that is when we tend to miss out and we tend to mix up a lot of things if we encounter a very tough question. So the first state of emergency is the state of time consciousness. And the best way to practice time consciousness would be to do these 3 things. First of all, अगर पेपर 3 घंटे का है, तो जब तुम प्रैक्टिस करते हो तो 2.5 घंटे में उस पेपर को सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करो. क्यों? Because when you do it in 2.5 hours, your brain is going to declare emergency in the last half an hour. And us rush hour में भी, if you're able to solve the paper properly, that is when your brain is not declaring an emergency. The second thing that you're supposed to do is actually have a device or an alarm clock or a normal clock which can constantly give you a sensation of time using its sound. Alright. Now, I usually have a clock which makes this noise tick, 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 or I just use YouTube to imitate those sounds so that I can constantly give a reminder to my brain that time is running out. And the moment you are able to focus on your paper, in spite of being extremely conscious about time running out, that is when you're training your brain for the emergency of time consciousness. And the third thing that you're supposed to do is actually mimic the bell of your exam hall in your bedroom. Now, people, most of you guys must have actually experienced this, that जैसी exam hall में bell बजता है, so suddenly there's a little bit of anxiety that pops up because your flow is cut down and suddenly you are reminded that बहुत कम time बचा हुआ है. And this is a time wherein you could actually get anxious. Now, I get anxious because of the bell all the time. So the best way to train your brain for the bell would be to actually imitate the bell in your bedroom using YouTube, using some alarm clock, by which you can actually train your mind to cut the focus, listen to the bell, and come back again with full focus to write your paper. If that is done, you can train your brain for the emergency of time consciousness. The second state of emergency that I'm talking about is the state of emergency caused because of the space. Now, I get extremely uncomfortable if I am put in a bedroom where there is no ventilation, and because it gets a little suffocating, I kind of feel very uncomfortable. And this has actually happened to me in a few exam halls that I completely got zoned out the moment that discomfort popped in. So the state of emergency got declared because of the discomfort caused due to the space. Alright. And the best way, for some people, this might be about open spaces. For some people, it might be about small spaces. To me, it is about small spaces. So depending on where do you exactly get anxious. Now, this is a question of self-awareness. You should actually put yourself to test and write the paper in 3 hours using the bell in an open space or in a closed space, depending on your state of emergency, and train your brain to perform at its level best, even in those spaces where you experience discomfort. And the third state of emergency is the most common state of emergency of all, and that is distraction. Now, some people get intimidated when there is extreme silence. Now, for me, it's extreme silence. And some people get anxious when there is a lot of noise. So depending on what exactly distracts you the most, extreme silence or extreme noise, put yourself in a state of emergency and write your paper in that distractive environment so that you can train your brain for that situation, hence preventing it from using the monkey during the exam time. Now, when it comes to the interview, it's the exact same thing. It's just that instead of, the exam hall, instead of the bench and the paper, you have to dress in formals, because some people become extremely uncomfortable when they dress in formals, eventually becoming anxious. Number 2 is the mock interview, and that's the reason why in my one-on-one training for the interviews, I take a lot of mock interviews so that I can train your mind to operate in a state of anxiety and to be able to think critically even during those emergency situations. And the moment you train yourself for that, when the interviewer asks you even a tough question, still you will be able to think logically and you will be able to give the right answer. And if your interview is being delayed by a long time, and this is something that can also result into anxiety, कि सुबह बोला था इंटरव्यू होगा लेकिन शाम तक इंटरव्यू हो ही नहीं रहा है, the best way to distract yourself from that would be to watch funny series. Alright, I'm not even kidding. If before you enter these stressful situation, if you can just laugh a little bit, the secretion of cortisol is going to decrease by a large extent. Instead, your brain is going to secrete happy hormones like oxytocin and endorphin, and then you can do your level best during the most stressful situations of your life. Now the key is only one thing, that is discipline and dedication when you do these practice. If you practice all of these tricks with utmost sincerity, I can assure you people that you will be able to face the most crucial situations of your life with extreme bravery. And while other people will be extremely anxious, even you will be anxious, but you will know how to deal with anxiety. That's my take on how to train your mind for the most stressful situations of your life so that you can go on to embrace the most beautiful opportunities of your life with courage and with strategy. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Take care.